Hello, sixth graders. Happy Monday. Okay, last week we started on statistics and we talked about statistical questions and we talked about describing data. You're going to review that on your PDN today. Once you finish your PDN, we'll check our answers and then we'll start on today's lesson. Right now, you're going to want to hit pause, start your PDN, and unpause when you have finished. Okay, welcome back. You probably have various answers for number one, so I'll check those when you turn it in. For number two, what are the two main criteria for all statistical questions? It must be about a population. Remember that a population is more than one person, so it has to be about, or one thing must be about a population, and must have variance. That means everyone in the population is going to have a different answer. If I asked the question, what grade is everyone in? Everyone who's doing this right now would say they're in sixth grade, so there is no variance on that. Variance means that different members of the population have to have different answers. For number three, when we're describing this data, the attribute, remember that's just what the data is about. I would say Judith's running times. I almost always get that information just from the title of the chart. The unit of measure, it tells me right here, we're talking about seconds. What are all these numbers? Means of measurements, if she's running, she's probably using a stopwatch. She might be using nap on her phone. All of those are acceptable answers. Number of observations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 observations. Okay, today we're going to start on looking at different ways that we display data. So last week we just started talking about what data is, how we can collect data using statistical questions. Today we're actually going to talk about, once we have that data, how do we show it? Today we're going to begin working on different ways to show the data. Getting a bunch of numbers thrown at us can be really confusing. So in math, we create displays to more easily look at and understand the information. The first way we can display data is a dot plot. This allows us to see the way that data looks in a much simpler way. There's just going to be one example today. Now, because we're creating a data display, I'm actually not going to have you write this down on paper. All I'm going to have you do is watch the video and see how I do it. And then our practice is going to look a little bit different today just because we're limited in, I can't come and check your paper at your desk. So when we get to our practice, I'll show you how I want you to do that as well. Let's read this first question together. It says, Robert, a sixth grader at Roosevelt Middle School, usually goes to bed around 10 o'clock and gets up around 6 o'clock to get ready for school. That means he gets about 8 hours sleep on a school night. He decided to investigate the statistical question. How many hours per night do sixth graders usually sleep when they have school the next day? Remember that this is statistical because it's asking about a population, the whole sixth grade class, and different people are going to sleep for a different amount of time. It says Robert took a survey of sixth graders and collected the following data to answer the question. These are all the answers. He just went around the room. First person said 7 hours, next person said 8 hours, and these are all the answers he got. Now, when I'm looking at this, that is really hard to look at. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it says. It really doesn't give me a lot of information. It looks like a bunch of numbers. So instead, we're going to use a data display called a dot plot. Now, you're going to get some practice on the computer today doing dot plots, but I want to show you how I would create a dot plot if I had a piece of paper in front of me. So I'm looking at all of these numbers, and I'm actually going to create mine on the computer, which I won't ask you to do, but I want you to see how I do it. There we go. Let me open up where I have it. Okay. So this is, sorry, I opened up the wrong one. Okay, this is all the numbers that I just got from it. The first thing that I did is I created a number line. And the reason that I started my number line at 5 and ended it at 12 is because 5 is my lowest value. That's the lowest amount of sleep someone got. And 12 is my highest value. That's the most amount of sleep. So I don't need 13 on here because no one got 13 hours of sleep. I don't need 4 because no one got 4 hours of sleep. Once I have my number line, I also, anytime I make a display, I need to give it a title. So this is sixth graders sleep. Okay. The title doesn't really matter. You can be as creative as you wanted about it, but it needs to represent what the table's about. Now this is called a dot plot. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dot for each of these numbers. I'm going to start with 5. As I look through the list, there's only 1 5. So I'm going to put 1 5, a dot above the 5. If I was using a piece of paper, I would just circle in a dot above the 5. The other thing that I'm going to do, because I don't want to make a mistake, is I'm going to cross out this 5 because I've already used it. And I don't want to just keep on looking at the same numbers over and over. The next thing I'm going to do is look at how many 6s there are. Let's see here. There's 1. Cross it out as I go. Just 1 6. So I'm just going to put 1 dot above the 6. Notice I did not put this dot way up here. Okay, I'm trying to keep all my dots even, so I'm trying to put it right about the same level as I did on the 5 one. It might not be perfect, but unless I have a ruler, it's not going to be perfect. Next, I'm going to look at 7s. I have 1, 2, 3, 3 7s. So I'm going to put 3 dots, 1, 2, let me try that again, 2, 3 dots above 7. Okay. Again, I want all my 1s to be even. Next, I'm looking at 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different 8s. So I'm going to have to put 8 dots above 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, and 8. Okay. Again, I want to make sure they're even, so I'm going to go back and actually correct this a little bit because my 3s aren't lining up perfectly and my 2s aren't lining up perfectly. I'm going to move this down so that my 2s line up perfectly and my 3s line up perfectly. Again, it's never going to be like 100% perfect, but we want it to be pretty even. Next, I'm going to look for 9s. On 9s, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 right next to 9. And I'm actually just going to do it this way. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's not going to be perfect, but I want it to be about the same size as this one. So I might move this one up just a little bit to see, so I can see that 8 and 8 are the same height on this dot plot. There's 8 students who said 8 hours of sleep. There's 8 students who said 9 hours of sleep. Okay, my next one is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 10s. I need to put 4 dots on 10s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double check to make sure that my 4s are all even. Probably need this one to move up a little bit to be even with these. 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And then my last ones are 11. For 11, there's 1, 2. So I'm going to put 2 dots above 11. 1, 2. Again, is my 2 even with all the other 2s? Pretty close. And the last one is there's just 1 person who got 12 hours of sleep. Must be nice, but I'm going to move 1 dot above 12 hours of sleep. Okay, so this dot plot gives me information about how many hours of sleep. We could say, if I were to ask you, oh, how much do most sixth graders sleep? You'd look at this and say, oh, easy, either 8 or 9 hours. So one kid gets 12 hours, one kid gets 5 hours, but most kids are getting between 8 and 9 hours of sleep. So this is just a display that allows us to see a little bit better what all this data says, okay? Now, this is very complicated to do. I only know how to do this because I've been doing this for many years. I'm not going to ask you to fill them out on a computer like that. Instead, on your classwork, under your partner practice, you're actually going to click this link, and this link is going to take you to a web page. So go scroll down to practice set 1 and click the link. Let me make sure that this is in the front. Let's see here. Okay. And this is on Khan Academy's website, but it's not necessarily, you don't have to log into Khan first. You're just going to open it up and do it like this. So you have 4 problems. Everyone's going to have the same 4 problems. It tells you that Melanie goes on enchanted walk through the magical forest. Frequency table shows you how to do that. 0 legs, there are 2 creatures. So for 0 number of legs, there's 1, 2 creatures. Oh, I only wanted 2 there because 2 creatures have 0 legs. For number of legs, 1 number of legs, there's 1 creature, so I just put 1 dot there. You're going to go ahead and do these 4 problems. You can then check your answers using this website right here. You should do those 4 practice problems now. Go ahead and pause the video and do those 4 practice problems. The computer's going to tell you whether you have it right or wrong and give you tips on how to fix it. Okay, welcome back. We're going to go back to our classwork. Okay. Oop, that's not it. Let's see here. All right, we are now done with practice set 1. You're going to do the same thing for practice set 2. You'll click these links. It's going to take you to 3 different exercises on a website called IXL. And those 3 practice sets are going to allow you to tell you right away whether you got it right or wrong. The first one is very similar to what you just did on your first practice. The second one is the same, but it has fractions now. And then the third one asks you to look at those graphs and read about them and learn a little bit about them, okay? It'll tell you right on the computer whether you got it right or wrong, so you won't necessarily need to check back answers in this video. Go ahead and pause the video and do your practice sets now. Okay, if you have finished all 4 practice sets, there was 1 under practice 1, there were 3 under practice 2, you're now ready for your exit ticket. In your Word document, you're going to read this question and you're going to highlight this and replace it with your answer. Which dot plot? The second dot plot or the third dot plot? And make sure you explain to me why you picked that answer. Okay, so first, second, third, or fourth, which one is correct and how do you know? Then make sure you press turn it in, and that's how I'll know you're done. As always, if you have any questions, give me a text or call, 847-769-4731. You do still have a couple of Khan assignments. The first one is just reviewing what we did last week on statistical questions. So after you finish up your exit ticket, make sure that you log on to Khan and complete that as well. Have a good one, and I will see you all tomorrow.